Hey, Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football. We're sitting 3-2, and we haven't quite lost to the bye week yet, so fingers crossed.
We had a week off, and we are back home, and we are ready to go, so let's go.
All right, today on the show, we've got some news, we've got some memories of our favorite games, and we look forward to the Bucs game.
All right, Raider Nation, we would love to hear from you, so here's how you can get in touch with us. Leave us a message on the Only Nation Podcast voicemail line at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Or you can also text us at that number. Our email address is onlynationpod@gmail.com, and we can also be found on Twitter and Instagram at onlynationpod. You can also check us out on Facebook and YouTube. Just search the Only Nation Podcast. And be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on your favorite social media accounts and podcasting apps. And don't forget to send us a message with your name and address, and we'll get you some free Raider merch sent out to you. Also, check out our new website, onlynationpod.com.
All right, and then I am going to rely on my co-hosts here, T3 and Raider Homer, because my voice is just a little bit weak today. We're going to cut the episode a little bit short and get me some rest.
What a trooper.
She is playing through the pain this evening and this week.
I am. I know I sound awful, but dude, there's no excuse. Just because I have to talk doesn't mean that I can't do it.
Right.
I'm here for you.
And we are right behind you.
Right, into our first segment.
Here's the latest Raider news.
Right, defensive tackle Maurice Hurst. He was activated from the COVID-19 list.
Mo.
Yay!
We need him back.
We desperately need him back. However, cornerback Damon Arnett and Trent Brown were placed on the COVID-19 list.
Oh, my God. No, I was just going to say, when I saw that, my head just fell in my hands, and I was like, oh, my God, what else can go wrong with Trent Brown?
Oh, let me tell you. As a precaution to Brown testing positive, the Raiders sent home the entire starting offensive line from practice to be careful. So yeah, that's how it got worse. Hopefully it's just precautionary and they'll be back in time for the game.
Right, and then the reports are that since they had Tuesday off, as long as they come back and with the negative test, they will be able to play on Sunday.
We're recording this podcast on Wednesday night, so we're keeping our fingers crossed for good news on Thursday.
So by the time you listen to this, we might already have good news.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. And then quarterback Marcus Mariota. He was activated from injured reserve. However, Richie Incognito remains on injured reserve.
Wait a minute. Marcus Mariota, isn't he that guy that was supposed to take over and just set everything on fire?
Yeah.
Yes.
That didn't quite work out. Although,
okay,
I do want him to work out for our team. I think that he's a great backup. I think that he's even the type of quarterback that we can put in the red zone. I've been saying that since we signed him. You know, I would love to see him in some red zone packages, running RPOs and things like that, or even in short yardage packages, you know, running short RPOs. Even though Derek Carr got those 2 fourth and ones, I'd like to see Mariota in there in short yardage situations.
Well, I will say this. The Raiders have an awful lot of money invested in the quarterback position to not actually activate him and do something with him this year.
Right. And then, you know, the Mariota Carr thing can mirror the Stabler Plunkett thing. You know, Plunkett set the bench for a little while until he got right, while, you know, Stabler finished off his career with the Raiders. So you could see something like that with Derek Carr happening, maybe. Who knows? But still, he's a great backup, and I think he can contribute to the team, you know, not just ride the bench.
I would just like to see him earn his keep this year.
And we don't know exactly where Mariota is. I remember before he even went on injured reserve, I told you guys, I think he's hurt. I think he's still hurt. I think it's going to depend on how he's recovered from those long-term injuries. I don't think it was just this one-time acute flare-up. It's going to depend on how he's recovered overall, and that's going to make the difference as to what kind of an impact he could have with us or not.
According to some of the Raiders insiders, though, he's got a really good outlook on things. He's had a really positive attitude. So I think that speaks well of not only him, but also how the team's been treating him so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the pressure's off of him, He's a Heisman Trophy winner, took his team to the playoffs, lost his job. But there's no pressure here with Derek Carr at quarterback, He can heal, learn the system, and contribute to the team. So he should have a good attitude.
I would say that before the season started, that Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota were probably two quarterbacks that were being dumped on by more than anybody in the league.
And their story is similar, you know what I mean? Coaching change after coaching change, different offensive systems. They even broke their leg in the same year, so hopefully they can win a Super Bowl together, fingers crossed. Now, Richie Incognito, right now that he's already gone past the 3 weeks on IR. He has to stay on the IR for 8 weeks now, right?
No,
he can come back between week 3 and 8. Now, if he stays on, yeah.
They have like a 3-week window where they have to decide what they're going to do to him, if they're going to continue moving him on towards activation or eventually end up on a season-ending IR. But right now, he's just entered that window period where they're really considering what to do.
Okay, well, we need him back, so hopefully he can heal up.
Once again, from an insider, I heard that they're going to try to see if they can make that final decision by week 10, which means within the next 3 weeks.
Okay, cool. All right, so in other news, we signed defensive end David Irving to the practice squad. He is currently undergoing COVID-19 testing before being able to enter the team facilities. In 2017, Irving played in 8 games for the Cowboys. He had 7 sacks, 19 QB pressures, 12 tackles, 3 for a loss, and 6 passes defense and 1 forced fumble. Man, Marinelli he's got his hands all over that defense, huh?
Indeed, and I'll mention him just a little bit more in Heidi's High Five. But he's got a lot of upside, but he's not going to be the be-all, end-all for the defense.
Right.
Yeah, but he could be a nice complementary piece.
He could be a nice piece indeed.
And of course, Nassib, his toe. So I'm glad we got somebody that has some potential to replace Nassib.
The big question mark I've heard about him has been the motivation. I've heard that when he is motivated, he is a beast, but that's been the problem.
And Nassib is allegedly lightly practicing.
Yes.
All right, Elon Musk's company that is creating a transportation system underneath Las Vegas has received approval to move forward with building a connection at Allegiant Stadium. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be. That would just add to the allure of Vegas. We just need to get people back and get the economy normal and get the entertainment industries and venues going back to the way they were. I just see so many things. You put the Raiders in the mix with all that entertainment there, it's going to be off the chain.
Now, isn't this supposed to go to L.A., this transportation system?
Allegedly. I think they're still putting it together, but I think it's supposed to be going out to L.A., yes.
Virgin, I believe, is doing the one from L.A. to Vegas.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Richard Branson's company.
Right. I knew it was one, but I was thinking it was Elon Musk, but I think Richard Branson. I believe you're right, Heidi. Well, in other news, the Raiders, listen to this. This is a shocker. The Raiders have jumped from number 21 to number 13 overall in the NFL.com power rankings. Now, how do you imagine they jumped up so far so fast? Do you think it had anything to do with their win over Kansas City?
Ha 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 ha.
Just goes to show timing is everything. Now, if you asked me at the beginning of the year where they were in terms of power rankings, and I think we all kind of agreed that they were right there around the 15, 16 level. So maybe, again, this is a little higher than we thought, but again, they're just power rankings, and they can vary anywhere from week to week.
What a difference Ruggs makes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just saw a Touchdown Wire, who I don't use a lot, but they ranked the Raiders 12 overall for this week. So
12, 13, I'll go with that. You know what I'll take over that, though? More wins.
Yes.
More wins and we'll get up higher.
Now, according to Pro Football Focus, Alec Ingold is the best receiving fullback in the NFL, as he's caught 7 passes for 70 yards and a touchdown. His 81.6 passing grade leads all fullbacks and is ranked 8th among all running back fullbacks with 5+ targets. Now, we all know here on the podcast that John Gruden probably uses a fullback more, and if not more effectively, than any other coach in the NFL. So the fact that he is the best receiving fullback doesn't surprise me, but the fact that he is ranked that high among running backs and fullbacks combined, a bit of an eyebrow raiser.
Yeah, that was the part that caught me. That's why I put that in there.
He still would have ranked pretty high, in the 90s, though, when fullbacks were still around for the most part.
Right. And he does play a very prominent role in the passing game.
And he's a good blocker, too. He's a good ball carrier. He's an all-around good athlete. I'm glad we got him. I'm glad we have him. He's a definite, asset to this offense.
And an undrafted free agent.
Way to go, Mike Mayock.
Okay, and that brings us to our next segment.
And now it's time for another Heidi's High Five.
Here is this week's version of Heidi's High Five. Number 1, I saw an interesting stat this week. Since 2003, the Raiders are 3-14 in games that follow a bye week. Now, if you look at those numbers, things don't look good against Brady and the Bucs. However, we've already exorcised one demon, that being Arrowhead Stadium. So we just have another one to conquer this coming week. Number 2, welcome David Irving to the defensive line. A reuniting with Coach Rod Marinelli, a fresh venue in Las Vegas, and a team that actually has a fighting chance this year. Now, will Irving be an All-Pro? Highly unlikely. Will he be a star? Probably not. A starter? I don't see it. But he could be a very interesting rotational piece, and he's got some freakish athletic talent. Dial it up and let it go. I've got my fingers crossed on this one. Number 3, I saw a post this week about Cincinnati Bengals defensive tackle Geno Atkins. It appears that he may be on his way out of Cincy with the trade deadline coming up in 2 weeks. This would reunite him with defensive coordinator Paul Guenther. Now, Atkins wouldn't cost much in terms of trade compensation, and he's under contract for the next 2 seasons, but potentially an additional piece for that defensive front. Number 4, all right, here's one more hypothetical trade. CBS Sports thinks that the Raiders would be a good fit for Atlanta Falcons wideout Julio Jones. The first proposal I saw would have the Raiders sending a first-round pick in 2021 and a 4th rounder in 2022 for Jones. Julio will be 32 next February, but he still carries a high price tag. He would be a big addition and a big help to the receiving corps this year, but the trade cost is very high. And number 5, Raiders games on national TV. We had the New Orleans game on Monday night in Week 2, and most of the country saw the Raiders in Kansas City as the late game of doubleheader in Week 5. Now the bright lights of Sunday night in Week 7. I think one of the things I've missed the most is seeing the Raiders in the spotlight. I think the pendulum started to swing back in 2019 with Hard Knocks. Now in 2020, I think it's time for more head knocks. And that is this week's version of Heidi's High Five.
I'd like to see Geno Atkins come over. That would be a good trade, I think, in my mind. You could probably get, like you were saying, a low-cost trade. I think we can get him. And he would be nice rotational piece, too, to fit with Irvin.
The problem is the Bengals traditionally do not make trades in season. So we would have to make it worth their while to do it.
I do see the Raiders making a move, but I think it's probably going to be on the defensive side of the ball. I don't see them making a move on the offensive side, but I could see them pulling the trigger as long, again, as the cost is not too high. Geno Atkins very well could be a member of the Raiders.
Yeah, now the Julio Jones, I don't want that. No first, none of that. Or a 4th. If it were just a 4th, maybe. But you can probably get Atkins for a 4th or a 3rd. I'd rather have that. That's where we need the most help is on the defensive side of the ball. But Julio Jones at 32, no way. I trust what Mayock is doing. Let him work. Let him keep drafting. I mean, we still got Brian Edwards coming back. That kid looks like he's going to be good. Of course, Renfro is good. Ruggs is good. So I don't know. We need our draft picks. But if we could get a Geno Atkins for a late round, I think that would. We need our high draft pick. But if we can get a Geno Atkins for a late round pick, that'd be a good move. I think, especially being that he knows Gunther's defensive scheme. Because Collins, he's come in on a 1-year deal. He's not really doing too well. But Geno Atkins next to Hurst, I think that would be a good combination right there.
Julio will be a great addition to the team this year, but again, I think the cost is just simply too high. I agree with you, Homer. I think if they're going to make a decision on somebody, it's going to be probably along that defensive line. If it's not Geno Atkins, it may be someone else. But I certainly would like to have Geno Atkins come in and be a good, not just a rotational piece, but an impact player on that defense.
Yeah, I'm way more into the idea of Atkins over Jones. Jones would cost a lot as far as trade value goes, but he's still going to want to be paid like one of the top wide receivers in the league.
And he will be. Wherever he goes, he will be.
Right, and we don't have that money.
And then back to this interesting stat that you had brought up. Since 2003, the Raiders are 3-14 in games that follow a bye week. Yeah, we have to fix that, But I'm thinking that we can. I think we were talking, before we started recording, T3, that the Buccaneers really haven't played some of the best teams, in the NFL. And you would think that Gruden's going to be able to scheme, his way out of that defensive pressure that the Bucs are going to be coming with, And of course, we talked about Brady having a quick release also, but so does Derek Carr, So I would like to see us get out of this and go and win this game coming out of the bye week. We have to. This is where our coach can prove his worth, and have our team prepared, both Gruden and Gunther.
The other thing I'd like to see, which we have not seen so far this year, is a 2-game winning streak.
Yes. Yeah, we got to start stacking up wins. That's what playoff teams do, so we have to do that.
I'm game for that. Okay, and then since we didn't have a game to talk about this past week, we decided to each of us pick a Raiders game, a regular season Raiders game that we recalled that meant something to us. And so I'm going to start us off. In week 12, 2004, the Raiders were playing the Broncos in a snowstorm in Denver. With just over 6 minutes to go in the game, the Raiders were down by 11 points. Wide receiver Ronald Curry had 6 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown on the game. His most memorable moment was the score. While playing in heavy snow, Curry goes up in the back of the end zone, spins around in midair, and makes an insane one-handed off-target catch of a pass thrown by Kerry Collins. The Raiders went for the 2-point conversion but were unsuccessful. However, this touchdown paved the way for the Raiders to complete a comeback. Raiders ended up pulling out the victory 25-24. Now, the game by itself is simply memorable because of the Curry catch. However, it's memorable to me for a different reason. I didn't actually get to see the catch or the game until much later. You see, I was up in the Oregon Mountains visiting my mom and stepdad over that weekend. And when I say mountains, I mean it. There was one local channel on their TV, and everything else they watched over old school satellite. Like 10-foot big satellite dishes that you couldn't get anything on. The game wasn't shown on any of the channels they were able to get. Knowing this, I had bought a Sirius satellite receiver for my truck. I kept going outside to drive up to the top of the mountain to get a signal and listen to the game every so often. It drove my mom crazy. Sure enough, come the fourth quarter, I disappeared until the game was over. I just couldn't pry myself away, and I have no regrets. And that's why that's one of my most memorable Raiders moments ever.
So for me, it was the 2016 Bucs. Since we're playing the Bucs, I just wanted to go with that game. That was a big game in my mind. We were at the beginning of that year, we had a tough schedule. Everybody was talking about us not being able to win because of that schedule, but we were able to win. But it was back and forth. Of course, Amari Cooper had a pretty good game. It was probably one of his better games. But the fact, I remember sitting there I can't remember. I think Winston had thrown for 500 yards the week before. And I was asking myself, man, when are we going to have that guy that throws 500 yards, you know? And lo and behold, in this game, Derek Carr throws for 500 yards. And, you know, we get the fourth quarter comeback too. But it was so back and forth. It was cool to see the Raider Nation in there cheering. You know, you could hear the coo cries when he would make a catch. So it was nice to see the Raider Nation move in there. And then I think in that game also, we broke the record for most penalties in a game. So, I mean, it was just a typical Raider game, you know, with the Raider Nation there to witness it. And I just, you know, I loved that game. I loved, Seth Roberts, you know, at the end of that game, breaking those 2 tackles and taking it all the way to the house. And of course, you know, Seabass missed 2 field goals, right? One at the end of the game to win the game. And then he missed one in, our first possession in overtime. So, I mean, to me, that was a through and through Raider game. But hopefully Derek Carr can do something like that again this week.
It's one of my favorites. I still watch that on Game Pass every so often.
Now, I'm going to go really old school on everybody. And if you really want to go back and see a classic game, go onto YouTube and go back to the year 1979. That was Tom Flores' first year as head coach of the Raiders. Now, in Week 14, with a record of 7-6, they made their first appearance ever at the New Orleans Superdome for Monday Night Football. New Orleans led 28-14 at halftime. Then the lead was extended to 35-14 after a pick six by the Snake. Stabler had thrown 2 interceptions and had also fumbled the ball away, giving the Saints 3 quick scoring opportunities, all of which they cashed in on. On the pick six, Kenny ran after the linebacker to make the tackle, but he was blocked hard by one of the defenders, and his head bounced hard off the AstroTurf. They didn't have concussion protocols back then, but even so, Flores was ready to put in Jim Plunkett. After 37 minutes of play, New Orleans ran up a seemingly insurmountable lead. What remained was totally incredible, except for Raider fans who stayed tuned in and kept up hope. As Plunkett went out onto the field for the next series, Stabler amazingly went running out onto the field. With only 18 minutes left to play, the Raiders were down 35-14. He kept moving the team for touchdowns, and the defense switched from a 3-man line to a 4-man line and kept getting the ball right back as the Saints picked up only 1 first down in the entire second half. Stabler threw 2 touchdown passes to Cliff Branch, who didn't even start the game because he'd missed practice that week. But he turned out to be a pretty good substitute. Touchdowns by Mark Van Eegen and Derek Ramsey added to the mix. When it was all said and done, the Raiders had pulled out a 42-35 victory. It was the biggest comeback ever on a Monday night game. So down 35-14, the Raiders scored not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 unanswered touchdowns and stunned the Saints 42-35, pushing their Monday night record to 15-1. Oh, and I might also mention that their next trip to the Superdome, a little over a year later, was a pretty happy one too. That was Super Bowl 15, where they routed the Eagles.
Woohoo. God, my little woohoo sounds so bad.
That's okay.
Way to tough it out, though.
I'm doing my best.
We are not going to put you on IR.
Oh, no. We need all hands on deck.
All right, gentlemen, and we have an exciting new game coming up this week against the Buccaneers. What are your game predictions for this week?
I think the defensive pressure is going to maintain, and we're going to get at least 2 sacks against Brady. Now, I don't think the offense will be nearly as prolific as it was against KC, mainly because I think Gruden is going to keep it on the ground and keep the clock moving. Still, I see 4 touchdowns on the board and a 28-17 victory in the desert on national TV.
And I'm going to go with 34-27 Raiders at home.
You know, the Bucs defense is really good right now. And, of course, Tom Brady is a savvy veteran. So this is going to be a tough game. In my mind, this is the game that our defense has to step up and play all 4 quarters. Shut down all 4 quarters. They have to play shutdown defense all 4 quarters and keep the Buccaneers to about 21 points if we're going to have a shot at winning this game. Now, I mean, their defense, they're ranked first in yards per game, first in rushing yards, and then 6th in passing yards, and then 8th in points per game. This defense is ready, and they're going to be coming after us. They gave Aaron Rodgers fits. They were hitting him. They sacked him 3 or 4 times. So I expect them to come at us like that, especially if Trent Brown is out and Richie Incognito is out. So they're going to come at us. So our short passing game is going to have to be on point. And then guys, they're going to have to execute the plays, catch the ball, and then make a play. The yak yards are going to be big in this game if we're going to win. We got to have big yak yards in order for us to win this game. This is going to be a tough one. A part of me wants to say that we're going to lose this game because the Bucs, they're just coming in hot right now. They're coming in real hot. It looks like their defense is playing really well. And, we played the Bills, who had a pretty staunch defense, and we didn't perform too well, against them. Of course, if our defense can shut down the Chiefs in the second half, then we can definitely shut down the Bucs. But our defense is not that consistent. It hasn't proven to be consistent this year. So that's the major thing. But, so I'm going to say, we'll probably lose this game by probably like 24, 17, something like that. But yeah, I'll just go ahead and go with the loss this week.
All right, Heidi, that sets us up. So if Homer's wrong, he's got to eat the crow next week.
Yep.
It's fine.
I've had it barbecued and it was delish.
I did too. Not too bad.
Fry mine, please.
Deep fried?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll throw it in the air fryer. Almost the same.
All right, Raider Nation, we want to hear from you, so give us a call at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. You can leave us a voicemail or a text message, and we'll play it on the show if you have a good idea or if you have some predictions. So give us a call. We want to hear from you.
All right. And drum roll, please.
Hey Homer, did you know?
All right, here's this week's version of Hey Homer, Did You Know? Now, this little nugget comes courtesy of legendary Raiders Tom Keating and Mike Ciani. Now, as we all know, a lot of the Raiders had nicknames. Foo, Dr. Death, The Assassin, Snake, and Ghost, just to name a few. But did you know that Al Davis also had a nickname, at least among the players? Did you all know this?
I know he's called the Maverick.
Here's the story that's little told. As the general manager, Al was the man who signed the contracts and doled out the money. There was always an unwritten law among the players to simply pay the man no attention, to treat him like he wasn't there until it was time for contract talks. But one night, during the stretch of time with those legendary Raiders teams of the 70s, Skip Thomas, Dr. Death himself, forgot his wallet and drove back to the team facility to pick it up. Al was in the weight room working out with his skinny arms. So Skip started cracking on Al's physique, and it was a heavy scene. Al responded by saying, "Skip, we're both the same size. You wear a size 44 suit, and so do I." So the next day at practice, in an attempt to prove his point, Al came out dressed in a suit, a size 44. Seeing how Al was more at home in a size 40, the jacket and pants fit a little loose. Okay, a lot loose. That's all Dr. Death needed. Skip ran over and grabbed Al by the seat of the pants and started poking fun of Al's baggy suit. Skip was carrying on something fierce, and before long, everyone was rolling on the ground laughing, even Al himself. Finally, after Skip had nearly tugged Al's pants off, he blurted out loudly, "El Bago." And that's how Al Davis got the nickname El Bago. And that is this week's version of Homer, Did You Know?
That is not a story I would have ever guessed.
Shout out to Alonzo Thomas. Your dad gave Al Davis his nickname. That's pretty cool.
Here you go.
El Bago.
El Bago.
El Bago.
All right, and then on today's Heidi's Hero, we are going to cut it a little bit short because my voice probably won't make it through it. Although I do have a special one picked out for next week. However, instead of rambling on about that, I just wanted to remind everyone about Pups and Pints, pnp5k.com. Go in there, register. It's a great charity run in honor of T3 and his wife's lovely dog, Marigold, who passed on from cancer. It's pnp5k.com. Use offer code NATION, and you'll get $5 off registration.
It all goes for a great cause, and we thank you all so much.
Yes, and if you don't want to register, you don't have to. Send them a PayPal of, $5, $10, whatever. Anything helps.
We're all about the dogs, and we're all about the nation.
Woof, woof.
Who let the dogs out?
Woof, 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 woof.
We're actually going to play that at Packet Pickup.
Sweet.
So we're also going to play Atomic Dog.
Bow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay. Bow wow yippee yo yippee yay. That's cool.
All right. Thanks again to our listeners for joining us on the Only Nation podcast.
Give us a call, Raider Nation. We want to hear from you. 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or send us a text message. You can also email us at onlynationpod@gmail.com. And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at onlynationpod. Search for us on Facebook and YouTube. Search the Only Nation Podcast. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on your favorite social media accounts and podcasting apps. And don't forget to send us a message with your name and address, and we'll get you some free Raider swag sent out. Also, check out our new website at onlynationpod.com.
And Craig, I've been laid up for the last week, but your special package with extra goodies in it is going out tomorrow.
Yeah, Craig, I sent yours out.
All right. Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Win this one for Heidi. Time to kick Brady to the curb and go Raiders.
Woohoo. God, my little woohoos are so sad.